Hey friends, welcome back for another video from Math Guy Tutoring Services. We're going to be continuing our real life math series of videos with a house remodeling project. And this will be part one, and it'll be painting a room. And so I want to repaint my room to a different color. Let's look at what math we're going to use and how we're going to figure out the total amount of paint that I'm going to have to buy from the store. And so I went to Menards.com, and I heard that Dutch Boy paint is actually pretty quality stuff. And this one has paint and primer um, all included there. And so this is just going to be a one step, one application thing. I'm not going to have to worry about multiple coats or whatever. Maybe I'll want to put a couple more on there, but I only need the one really low maintenance. And so here my paint is 27.97 for one gallon. Um, and kind of the issue here is like, okay, do I need a gallon? Do I need 2 gallons? Three? How much paint do I actually need? Well, I scroll down to the page a little bit, and there's this big table with all this different information. But for our purposes, what we need to know is the maximum coverage area, or like how much space or area is this 1 gallon of paint going to cover. And it's telling me, all right, this 1 gallon of paint maximum that it's going to get to is 400 square feet or 400 square foot. And so we're going to use that information along with the dimensions of my room in order to figure out how much paint I'm going to need to buy. Um, and so here's my room. It's kind of a funny shape, all right? It's a rectangle with a little chunk taken out of it. And I took the rough measurements lengthwise. This is like an aerial view, if you will, of my room. And I just took the measurements lengthwise. Okay, my top one here was 14 and a half feet, 19 and a half feet, 11 feet, and so on. I didn't measure where the door is. I know I'm going to have to paint a little bit around it. It doesn't take the entire space, but I think for my calculations, it's going to work out. I'm going to have enough paint. Um, and so my ceiling here is 7 feet tall. All right. And my paint coverage taken from that table is that 400 square feet. Now, my measurements are not precise, all right? Like I kind of took it to the nearest half. Some of these are going to be a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter than I actually did them. And so to compensate for that in my calculations, instead of saying that this paint is going to cover 400 square feet, instead I'm just going to go on the safe side and say that each gallon is only going to cover 350 square feet. And that'll allow the few inches that I took off or added here or there, as well as kind of my door measurement. I think I'll be safe if I bump it down by that much. And maybe I'll spill a little bit of paint or whatever. This just gives me some extra insurance. um and so from here it's like, okay, you and I know our measurements well, right? Okay, the unit here, right, on our wall measurements is feet, right? And this paint is covering square feet. So, what do we do? How do we find square feet? Well, we need to find, we know that square measurements are area measurements, right? And so we need to find the area of all the walls in my room. And just to give, one little picture of this, I'm going to take my 19 and a half foot wall here, and I'm going to make you know, a 2D picture, right? Kind of a representation of what it would look like if we were looking at the wall, right? Um, you know, not to scale, right? This is not, super beautiful picture here, but I know this is 19 and a half feet. Okay, that's the length of my wall. And I know that my ceiling is 7 feet. So how do we find the area? How do we find the area of a box or a rectangle? Well, we take base, right? Base times height, right? So if I take 19.5 and I multiply it times 7, I'm going to get, again, use the calculator, do some multiplication on the side here. What we're going to get is 136.5 5. And since both of these measurements were feet, we're taking a feet times a feet. This is going to be 136.5 square feet. All right, there's our area measurement. That's of just my one wall. So what do I need to find for the rest of them? Well, I need to do my 11-foot wall here, right? I got to multiply that times 7. Okay, I got to do my 9-foot wall. I have to multiply that times 7, and so on. And so feel free, pause the video. You can find out the total amount of square feet on your own. Otherwise, I'm going to continue this and kind of catch up. And so if I do all these, right, 11, 9, I have a 10.5-foot wall. I have a 14.5-foot wall. All right, if I do all of these, here's what I'm going to get. 11 times 7, that's 77, okay, square feet, right? 9 times 7, that's 63. I'm not going to write out square feet, but we know what it is, right? 10.5-foot wall, that's going to be 73.5 square feet, and my 14.5-foot wall is going to be 101.5 square feet. And so, how much total square feet do I have? Well, if I take all of these and add them up, right, I'm going to get that number. And again, use a calculator, do some addition, add up everything however you want. But my total is going to be 451. That is an ugly 5. I'm just going to do that again. 451.5 square feet. All right. And this is going to be, I'm just going to put it in parentheses here, total area of my walls. Okay. Now, am I done with my problem? No. I found the total area of my walls, but what am I actually looking for? I'm looking for how many, what's the word here? How many gallons or jugs of paint am I going to need? Well, I got to take the total amount of coverage that my gallon of paint can do, which is 350. And so if I do 451.5 and I divide that by the amount of paint or the amount of area that 1 gallon of paint will cover, I'm going to get, again, totally use a calculator here. You can do long division if you'd like. I'm going to get 1.29. And what does that represent? Gallons of paint required, and I'm just going to do REQ with the period for required. Um, and so, like, I don't know if you've, bought paint or if you've ever bought a gallon of milk or something like that, but I can't just go to the store and say, all right, I want 1.29 gallons of paint, please. No, they're going to say, okay, you can have 1 gallon or you can have 2 gallons or, however many you want, right? But they're not going to sell me a fraction of a gallon, right? So how many gallons of paint do I need? I'm going to need 2-gallon buckets. All right. That's my answer to my problem. 2-gallon buckets. And just for fun, how much am I going to have to spend in order to paint my room? Well, my cost here was $27.97, not including tax. All right. So I'm going to do 2 times 27.97, and that's going to give me, again, calculating out this on the side here, this is going to be $55.94 plus tax. So I'm going to be spending around $60 in order to paint my room. So I hope you enjoyed this video, enjoyed this content. Again, this wasn't a totally difficult and hard problem. There's a few steps there, but we were just using multiplication. We're using, like, I don't know, third, maybe fourth grade math skills in order to figure out how much money or how much money I'm going to have to spend or how many gallons of paint I'm going to need in order to paint a room. And I mean, you can do this to your own room. You could do it for fun, or maybe you want to figure this out for yourself too. But all you need is the dimensions of your room. Find the paint that you like online, or find it in store and look at the packages, and it'll tell you how many square feet it can cover. Um, So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks, friends. Come back again next time for part 2 of the remodeling project. Take care.